Hello and welcome. Aquarister here, back with another video, and today we are actually going to be looking at multiple builds. And what I mean by that is we are going to be breaking down the life staff builds that I like to run. Now I do have some more favorite builds that I like to run with life staff, but I definitely am going to be showing you some of the other options for some kind of various builds. And this is only for the life staff. I'm not doing any secondaries, so it's just the specific mastery, specific builds as to how I like to run them. Before we fully get into today's video, I do just want to say, if you like this video, please drop it a like. It really does help me out a lot. And if you'd like to see more content like this, including more full build videos, definitely subscribe to the channel so you can see when those videos go up. I also do stream throughout the week on Twitch, so you can definitely stop by a stream, check it out over there. I may be starting to stream on YouTube as well. I'm still kind of going through some of the details of it as far as how I want to go about it, but there is a chance I might be streaming on both Twitch and YouTube coming up, so we'll see. Definitely keep an eye out. Join the Discord if you want to see notifications on that. But let's get into today's video. Alright, so to get us started today, I'm just going to first show the life staff that I am using. We're not going to go over any of the gear or anything like that. As we go through the builds, I will specify which perks are necessary so you know which ones you might want to go for. Some are going to be more necessary than others. I will say right from the very start though, Fortifying Sacred Ground will be on every single build that I use. So Fortifying Sacred Ground is always going to be there. I'm always going to have it on a piece of armor because it is going to translate across all of my builds. So just to kind of put it out there, that's what we're looking at. But for my life staff that I am using, and I'm going to be using this with every single one of my builds currently, that could change down the road as, you know, the game changes and stuff, but currently I'm really liking this life staff. So we have the Full Focus, Purifying Breeze, Blessed, Refreshing Move. Now this is a named one. This is the Tai, however you pronounce it, in life staff. And I really like it, one, because it's not magnified, you get the full focus, and two, it had all the Purifying Breeze and Blessed perks, and then I just put Refreshing Move on it. Now I will put down in the description below the link to the video of how you can actually go out and farm this. I show where I went and how you can go and farm it yourself and craft it and all that, so I will have that in the description below. But this is the life staff that I have been working with and really happy with. All right, so for our first build, we are going to be looking at my Splash of Light build. Now, this is the build that I've been running the absolute most so far in Season 3. I ran it a little bit at the end of Season 2, but with the new life staff, it's even better because of the healing when you remove a debuff. So taking a look at the Splash of Light build, the way I wanted this build to work is so it is full debuff removal. So your teammates, specifically your group mates or your group members even, you'll be able to remove more debuffs from them. But if you're in like an OPR or, you know, a chest run, any bigger group setting, being able to run this Mending Touch is really big with the life staff specifically that I'm running. So with this build, obviously Sacred Ground will be on every single build. Splash of Light, we're going to build all the way up. And then I do like to run, this is kind of my standard build that I'm always going to have, is the Absolved, Blissful Touch, Mending Touch, Revitalize, Desperate Speed, and Intensify. And then we are going to get Divine Blessing. So every single build is going to utilize those perks because that is just how I am liking the build. It's just every single build that I've kind of come up with for life staff, for how I like to play, involves those perks. So those ones are always going to be the same. I'm not really going to go too deep into them. The big thing with some of these abilities or some of these passives is the fact that, like, with this one here, this is really the main one that you need to worry about, I guess. Essentially, you want to be landing your heavy attacks because you get a 10% increase in your outgoing healing, which you can stack 3 times. On top of that, with the life staff that I'm running now, those heavy attacks that you're sending in to get that outgoing healing up is also increasing your healing output through this perk, but also it's removing the debuff. So overall, as you're landing heavies, if there's any debuffs on your teammates, you're healing them, you're removing the debuff, you're stacking your healing. So it overall is a really nice way to go about it. Now, I know some healers don't always run the Intensify, but because of the life staff that I'm running with the heavy attacks, being able to remove those debuffs on top of healing, I think it's a really useful perk. So with the build here, like I said, Sacred Ground will be on every build. We obviously are going to have Splash of Light. Now with the Splash of Light build, you are for sure going to want the Splash of Light perk with it, because with that you get an extra heal out of it, or you're healing even more when you remove that debuff. So you're getting the extra heal from the perk itself to remove the debuff, plus you have the Purifying Breeze, which will also remove debuffs and heal from that. So you're getting just a lot more stacks of healing just by removing like one debuff can stack a bunch of healing for you, and it works really, really well. Now for our third ability, I did end up going with Orb of Protection because of the cooldown. Now I've tried Beacon, and Beacon's not bad, but because you already have a decently long cooldown between Sacred Ground and Splash of Light, 10 seconds, it's nice to have that kind of staggered abilities. You're always going to have something up. Usually it's going to be Orb, and then as you're landing those lights and heavies, you're just getting that cooldown reduction even more. But with Beacon, even with all the refreshing and stuff, it's still a 25-second cooldown, so it is a pretty long one. You can definitely run Beacon if you want, but I've just found that Orb is a little bit more consistent for me. And then as far as passives go, we have the Bend Light and the Protector's Strength. So just two different perks that are just going to increase our healing output. So our outgoing healing is increased by quite a bit, especially if we stack all three of those heavy attacks. All right, so this is my Splash of Light build. Next, let's take a look over at my Divine Embrace build. All right, so this is my Divine Embrace build, and as you can see, we keep these perks essentially all the same on this left side and the right side. But what we did is we shifted around where our abilities are. So instead of having the Splash of Light, now we're going to be on Divine Embrace. With Divine Embrace, I don't go all the way to the very bottom on that. I will just end up going to the Shared Struggle. So essentially, if you heal the initial target, if they're below 50% health, if you heal them, it's going to bounce that heal off to an additional ally that's within 8 meters. And that heal will be the exact same amount. With this one, it's going to bounce again. You could definitely try running that if you'd like, but I've just found that just running the single one works just fine. But definitely, if you think you're going to get use out of this because you're playing in a lot of group fights and stuff, it may be useful to you. I know it was broken for a while. I haven't tested it recently, but I know that was broken at some point. But yeah, so with Divine Embrace, we just end up running those three. And then with Divine Embrace, because the cooldown is significantly shorter on that, on top of that, I do recommend refreshing Divine Embrace. It is a phenomenal perk to have. If you can get it on your armor, great. If you can get it on your life staff, it's essentially like an instant like Divine Embrace, then Divine Embrace, then Divine Embrace if they're below 50. But again, I like running the Purifying Breeze, so for me, I would have it on my armor, still receive that cooldown reduction. But again, since the cooldown is so short on that, instead of going with Orb, I ended up going with Beacon. Beacon, I think, is really, really great if you have, another heal that's on that shorter cooldown. And then I do like to go with the Haste. So then when I throw a Beacon, say in a doorway in OPR, any ice, anything like that, kind of counteracts with the AoE haste that I'm able to do with that. And then we do make sure that we still have the Bend Light, Protector Strength, in order to get the extra healing output. So this is my Divine Embrace build. This is what I actually used to have as my go-to build. It's what I always run. Divine Embrace was fantastic. I still love it. Splash of Light for me is just a little bit more fun to play with right now because I feel like the healing output is phenomenal, and I really like being able to heal all my teammates at once as long as they're within 100 meters of me. So, but this build, if you want to keep someone alive, like a single target alive, Divine Embrace with refreshing Divine Embrace is really, really, really hard to beat. All right, so next, let's take a look over at the AoE healing build. All right, so this is the AoE build that I run. Now, I don't do a lot of AoE healing. Usually for AoE, if I know we have a lot of bruisers or if we're doing a dungeon where it's all melee, then I can justify doing an AoE build just because then I know that the whole group and everyone's just stacked in one spot. So I'm not like shooting my beacon way off and my orb and all my heals are in different directions. If I can stack all my heals in one central location, that works really, really well for AoE. Now again, left side, we haven't changed much, but in order to get the Divine Blessing, we did have to add one more passive perk, which I end up adding the Sacred Protection. Just gives a little extra healing to friendlies in your group by 5%, so it's just a little extra healing. and then you can do the divine blessing that way without having to have a second ability over here. Now on the right side, we obviously have Orbit Protection and Beacon, and then what I do is instead of doing the AoE heal or the AoE haste on Beacon, I end up going with either Bend Light or you can go with Protector Strength. Either one honestly works pretty good. I just like the outgoing healing or the Bend Light because then I can control it without having to use any abilities or anything like that. I can just dodge and know that I have the 20%. So I always know when it's active. I can kind of control that easier. Whereas in with this one, I have to make sure that I have a buff in order for that to be working. So that's why I just like to go with the Bend Light myself. But this is the AoE build that I like to run with. Again, I don't run AoE often, but when I do, this is what I do run, and it seems to work fine. It seems to work just fine as far as AoE. I'm just not a big AoE healer, but there you go. That is the AoE build. Okay, so this last one is going to be a little bit of a goofy one. Now, as far as the as far as the build goes, I like to call it my haste build. So it's a build all revolved around haste applications, stuff like that. So what I end up doing is I will get and I don't have one right now because of all the expansion changes. I haven't actually gotten a new life staff yet for it. But what I do is I like to run a life staff that has accelerated Light's Embrace, and it just gives a massive haste buff to whoever you heal with it. So when you heal someone with Light's Embrace, they get a massive haste, and it allows them to escape sometimes. On top of that, then we also have the speed of light, so we're also applying haste with our beacon. So if you throw a beacon and then heal someone with a Light's Embrace, they are so incredibly fast. It's incredible. It looks like they're speed hacking or something. So the Light's Embrace build, I don't run it very often at all, but it's a really fun one. It's one that like you're not gonna put out major healing numbers necessarily, but you are going to be very, very functional in helping your team to escape certain situations. So it's a very, very unique build, and it is very, very fun. Like if you are a main healer, I do recommend trying a haste build because it is so much fun to throw a heal and just see that person go booking it, especially if it's like a heavy armor and they're chasing someone or running away or anything, and just seeing a heavy armor just going that fast, you know that they're happy with it too. But for that one, like I said, for the actual life staff, I will run accelerating Light's Embrace on the life staff in order to get the maximum haste that I can get out of it. But yeah, so this is the Light's Embrace build. Again, don't change a whole lot on this left side. We do have to make sure we have the Sacred Protection in order to get the Divine Blessing, but otherwise, same perks. And then for the Light's Embrace, we only go down to the second one. We don't go down to this one down here. I've just always ran the two. I don't find too much of a need, especially if I'm running haste. I want to make sure I can get the speed of light. Plus, we want to make sure we get these two to kind of buff that Light's Embrace. It's a 20% buff to our healing for each of those individually. So nice option to go with. But yes, this is the haste build. It is very fun. I do recommend trying it. Just see how you like it because it's very unique. And I actually really enjoy it sometimes. All right, that is going to do it for today's video. So thank you very much for watching. These are some of my favorite healing builds that I like to run for life staff. But if there is a different build that you really like running, definitely put it in the comments below and I'll try it out and see how I like it. If you did like this video though, please drop it a like. It really helps me out a lot. And if you'd like to see more content like this, like I said earlier, definitely subscribe to the channel so you are notified when those new videos go up. And I do stream throughout the week on Twitch. I might start streaming on YouTube as well, so definitely keep an eye out for that. But if you'd like to stop by a stream on Twitch, definitely hop on over there. You can lurk, say hello, anything like that. We would love to have you. But that is going to do it for today's video, so until next time, I'll see you guys later.